High performance computing is a mechanism to achieve parallelism and good computational powers for a given task. So whenever we say high performance computing machinery is being used for specific tasks, we want to do some specific task efficiently and in good amount of time. For that purposes, we have 4 different choices, which are: number 1, we can use supercomputers. Then we can use clusters. Third, we can use grid stations. Or finally, we can use cloud computation. So in this module, I will just give different examples of these 4 devices. I will start from supercomputers. As the name suggests that this supercomputer, it is basically a special computer which is provided or developed for performing high-level processing tasks. What are different characteristics of a supercomputer? Number 1, this is developed by some specific vendor such as IBM, then Compaq, HP and so on. Then it uses custom components. Custom components means that these components are made for some specific task, but they will be vendor specific. That a supercomputer, one supercomputer made by HP, it will be having all the components from HP. Next thing is they have custom operating systems. So custom operating systems such as they will be having Unix or Linux or Windows, but that would be specific to that machine. Fourth is their properties. Now, since it is made by one vendor and it is prepared for one specific task, so these systems are usually very expensive. Then the good thing about these systems is that their availability and scalability is very high. What is scalability? Scalability means that they can be used for performing different levels of tasks, and availability means that they are available all around the time, all around the clock, 24 hours a day and most of the times. Moving on, we have the second thing, which are clusters. What are clusters? Clusters are basically heterogeneous collection of computers. In clusters, it's not necessary that all the components are from the same vendor. So we use the term of assembly here, that different components from different vendors are assembled together to perform some specific task. Good thing about clusters is they can be used for performing heterogeneous tasks. Heterogeneous means that they can perform different tasks at the same time. Again, most common operating system for these machines is again Unix or Linux based systems. Good thing about this system against supercomputers is that they are at the level of 10 times cheaper than supercomputers. But the disadvantage is that their scalability and availability is much lesser than compared to supercomputers. Then we have grid computing. Grid computing can be described as a type of supercomputers. But the idea is that this type of supercomputers, they can be used for heterogeneous tasks, and then those different computers can be present at different geographical locations. So concept wise, they have clusters and parallel computers, but the problems are, now problems basically that the people working on these things, because they are working on heterogeneous problems, so they require much programming capabilities, and then management of different tasks is also time cumbersome, and security of individual tasks or applications being performed on these computers, it's become very important. Here I have just discussed some different applications of high performance computing in bioinformatics domain. So what are different applications for high performance computing in bioinformatics domain? As you remember that one of the most important application of bioinformatics is drug discovery, which contains several pipelines or steps in a specific pipeline. So if we are using high performance computing, what we can do, we can perform one step in one pipeline. So high performance computing can be used to perform different steps in parallel fashion, that at one time we are doing one step, similarly at the same time we are performing another task using some other pipeline material. Then gene finding, multiple sequence alignment, homology search, we will look into details of some of these things in other modules. When we talk about cloud-based resources, Cloud-based resources, basically, a cloud is focused or developed using 4 major techniques, which are number one is IaaS, infrastructure as a service. Infrastructure as a service means that we are sharing hardware material across different domains. Then we have platform as a service. Platform basically is dependent on operating system information. Then we have software as a service, which is called SaaS. So SaaS means that we are sharing different softwares to perform different tasks. And at the upper level, we have DaaS, data as a service. So data basically is the output of different devices, so which can be shared among different domains. Here I have given an example of cloud-based resources in bioinformatics domains. So as we said, that basic stage is this IaaS. IaaS is basically infrastructure as a structures. So here we have virtual machines and virtualized resources. So these virtual machines are basically those machines which don't have physical existence, that they are resources, hardware resources, but they are not physically present. Similarly, we have other virtualized resources, such as we can say we have printers, keyboard, mouse, etc. Then we have this platform as a service. So this platform as a service is basically used for analysis of different platforms. And you know, for performing working on some hardware device, we need some firmware or some operating system device. That is basically our platform as a service. So we are performing two things: analysis of platforms plus programming environment in which we will be running other applications. Then at the third level, we have this SaaS, software as a service. In software as a service, we have different tools and pipelines. So these tools are basically our application softwares, such as Microsoft Word, Access. These things are our tools. And at the fourth level, we have this DaaS, data as a service. So data as a service, basically these are data which are related to some specific domain. In our particular domain, we have this public databases such as our biological databases, GenBank, then protein data bank, and so on, which is the first thing. And then this data is basically being shared among different nodes. So nodes are basically computers which are in part of a cloud. So this data is being shared among different nodes using this DaaS architecture.